It always amazed me how something as ordinary as a glass of milk could carry so much meaning. For some men, it's a morning ritual poured just after waking cold against the hand warm in memory. For others, it's a comfort, a link to childhood, to simpler times, to the way their mother used to care for them before the world got complicated. I once had a patient, Bill 71, quiet kind, the kind of man who still folded his napkin after breakfast. He told me, "Doc, I've been drinking milk every morning since I was 5. Never questioned it." And I understood, because there are things we do not because they're perfect, but because they're familiar, safe. But then Bill started noticing changes, not sudden, not dramatic, but undeniable. He was tired by noon, even after a full night's sleep. His memory, once sharp, began to blur at the edges, and most of all, he said something that stuck with me. "I still love my wife, but I don't feel myself when I'm near her. I feel slow, disconnected, like my body isn't listening anymore." Now, I'm not here to tell you milk is the enemy. I'm here to say sometimes the things we trust most are the ones we never bother to question. And at this stage of life, 60, 65, 70, it's worth asking again. What am I putting into my body each morning? Is it still serving me or slowly silencing me? I'm Dr. Thomas Leighton, and after more than 40 years caring for men, factory workers, veterans, teachers, fathers, grandfathers, I've learned that vitality doesn't leave you all at once. It fades, quietly, through small habits that feel harmless, but chip away at you day after day. And one of the quietest culprits is in your cup, not in alcohol, not in caffeine, but in milk. See, there are certain kinds of milk, the ones most men reach for out of habit, that don't support you the way they once did. In fact, for men over 60, they may be doing the opposite. I'm not trying to scare you. I just want you to consider, what if that single glass each morning was quietly affecting your testosterone, your circulation, your ability to sleep, remember, connect, even feel desire? What if the thing that once nourished you now drains you? Recent studies from respected institutions, including the National Institutes of Health, have shown that some processed dairy and sweetened milk products can lower testosterone, disrupt blood sugar, and trigger low-grade inflammation in the vessels that support not just your heart, but your manhood. And yet most men have no idea. They just wake up one day and say, "I don't feel like myself anymore." And they blame age. But sometimes it's not age. Sometimes it's what we keep feeding ourselves in silence. Bill had been drinking low-fat milk every morning, thought he was making the healthier choice. And I hear that all the time, "Doc, I gave up whole milk years ago." But here's the truth. Most labels won't tell you. When milk is stripped of its natural fat, manufacturers often add sugars, stabilizers, or thickeners to keep it tasting the same. And those additives, especially when consumed daily, don't just impact your waistline. They disturb hormones, they spike insulin, and they wear down your inner fire so slowly you don't even notice it going out. I told Bill to stop for 2 weeks, not forever, just observe. He switched to something else, something cleaner, simpler, with no hidden sugars. 2 weeks later, he said, "Doc, I didn't know I could feel this clear again." Now, let's be honest. We don't want to give up everything. We don't want to live like monks, and we shouldn't have to. But we do owe it to ourselves to stop pretending that all milk is good milk, because it's not. Some of it dulls you physically and emotionally, especially the ones sweetened with condensed sugars. I know, that can hit a nerve. Maybe you grew up dipping bread in condensed milk. Maybe it reminds you of your mother's kitchen or your own children's smiles at breakfast. But the body doesn't digest nostalgia, it digests sugar. And condensed milk. 1 spoon delivers nearly 10 grams of refined sugar straight into your bloodstream. That's not just sweetness. That's a silent attack on your hormones and on your mind. When your insulin spikes, your testosterone drops. When inflammation creeps in, blood vessels narrow not just in your heart, but where you least want them to, Your memory gets fuzzy, your energy dips, your desire fades, and you think it must be age. But what if it's that little swirl in your morning cup? Again, I don't say this to shame you. I say it because you deserve to feel alive again, and sometimes it starts with revisiting what you thought was harmless. If this message is opening something in you, not panic, but maybe curiosity, just stay with me, because I'm not here to take things away from you. I'm here to walk with you toward something better. Not radical change, just small, thoughtful steps. Starting with what's in your glass. Let's keep walking, friend, quietly now into the things no one ever told you might be wearing you down. After Bill stopped the low-fat milk, we looked at the rest of his morning. He had switched at one point to rice milk, thinking it was gentler, plant-based, better for someone his age. But here's the problem: rice milk is mostly starch. No protein, almost no healthy fats, just a sky-high glycemic index. It goes down smooth, but inside it hits like a sugar rush. And after that rush comes the fog. I remember Bill saying, "It's strange, Doc. I drink it, and 30 minutes later I feel off, like someone turned the lights down in my brain." And it made sense. Men over 60 already have a harder time stabilizing blood sugar. We don't process carbs the way we used to. Add to that the fact that some rice milk products contain inorganic arsenic. Yes, arsenic, a heavy metal that builds up in your body slowly, quietly, especially when consumed often. It's not a poison that kills. It's a toxin that dulls your memory, your liver, your recovery. So I said to him, "You're not weak. Your body is just protecting itself from things it never asked for." And I think that's something a lot of men need to hear. You're not slowing down because you're lazy. You're not losing interest because you're broken. You may just be carrying a weight you never knew you picked up. Now let me say this plainly, not all milk is harmful. In fact, some types of milk can support your strength as you age. But here's the catch. The ones that help you don't come with bright colors or fancy flavors. They don't have cartoon labels or sugar disguises. They're quiet, clean, gentle on the system, and deeply nourishing. Let me tell you about one of them. Fermented soy milk. Now I know soy makes a lot of men uneasy. There's talk about it messing with hormones, making men softer. But the science is more nuanced. Fermented soy, not the heavily processed kind, but real cultured soy, is different. Fermentation breaks down the proteins so they're easier to digest. It also increases bioactive isoflavones, compounds that help regulate hormones, not destroy them. I've seen men over 60 living in a cloud of fatigue try this for just a few weeks and begin to feel something come back. Clearer thinking, more stable mood, and yes, even that old quiet spark in the lower belly, the one that says I'm still alive. One man told me, "Doc, I don't know how to describe it. I just feel more like me again." And that's what matters. Another gentle ally. Unsweetened almond milk. No lactose, no cholesterol, no sugar traps. Just a clean, easy-to-digest drink that supports the heart, the brain, and the hormones. Almonds are naturally rich in vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant. When turned into milk, especially the unsweetened kind, they help calm inflammation and protect blood vessels. I told a patient once, "Try this in the morning for a week. No promises, just notice." And he did. He came back and said I didn't need a nap after breakfast. That hasn't happened in years. Sometimes healing doesn't begin with medicine. It begins with removing what weighs you down and letting something lighter in. Now I want to speak briefly about another quiet helper, oat milk, but not just any kind. Calcium-fortified oat milk, especially before bed. If you're the kind of man who wakes at 2 a.m. with your joints aching, or lies there staring at the ceiling wondering why rest never quite feels restful anymore, this one's for you. Oat milk contains beta-glucan, a natural compound that supports cholesterol and blood vessels. When fortified with calcium and vitamin D, it also helps relax the nervous system. I once told a widower 68 couldn't sleep since his wife passed to warm a small cup before bed. A few weeks later, he said, I still miss her, but at least I sleep now, deeply. I wake up less angry, and that too is healing. Because aging doesn't just test your joints, it tests your mind, your patience, your peace. And even the smallest comfort, like a warm, gentle drink, can be a turning point. And finally, there's one more, one you might not know yet: flax milk. It doesn't sound impressive. No ads, no flashy packaging, but inside it, a nutrient your body cannot produce on its own: ALA omega-3 fatty acids. These help reduce inflammation, support the lining of your blood vessels, and improve natural circulation to your heart, your brain, and yes, your manhood. One man, 72, former construction worker, told me after 3 weeks of flax milk, "Doc, I don't feel lost in my body anymore." He didn't mean just physically. He meant here, in his sense of self, in his energy, his direction. And that's the quiet power of a good choice. Not dramatic, but real. If you've been feeling worn out, disconnected, like your edge is dulling and you don't know why, before you reach for more pills, more stimulants, more distractions, look in your cup. What you choose each morning isn't just nutrition. It's a message to your body. I still care. I still want to feel alive. I'm still here. You don't need to change everything overnight. But maybe, just maybe, it begins with one quiet switch, from what you've always known to what your body has been quietly asking for. And now, my friend, we come to the part no label can teach you: the moment where awareness becomes self-respect. You see, most men don't make harmful choices on purpose. They don't wake up thinking, let me dull my mind today. Let me slow my body down. No, they do it the way we all do, through habits, through loyalty to what's familiar, through the quiet comfort of what we once believed was good for us. I've always said the danger isn't in the milk. The danger is in never pausing to question it, because once we pass 60, the rules begin to change. What once kept us strong may now weigh us down. What once helped us sleep may now keep us foggy. What once nourished us as boys no longer serves us as men. But here's the good news. That doesn't mean you've failed. It just means it's time to listen differently. I had a man, Thomas, 69, divorced retired naval officer. He came to me not because of pain, but because, as he said, I'm tired of feeling numb. He didn't want a diagnosis. He wanted a spark. So we didn't talk medicine. We talked mornings, habits, energy, milk. He was drinking 2 cups of sweetened oat milk every day. Thought it was the healthy kind, said it's got oats, it must be good. But when we looked at the label, 12 grams of sugar, artificial flavors, 0 added nutrients. I asked him to try something else: unsweetened almond in the morning, flax in the afternoon. 3 weeks later, he said this: I don't know if it's the milk or if it's me, but I feel present again. And I smiled, because the answer was, it's both. You change what you feed yourself, and your body begins to respond. You stop numbing and life starts speaking again. I saw this again in a man named Alan. He was 75, still working part-time at the local library. His hands were steady, but his spirit was tired. He told me, I don't feel old, but I don't feel awake either. When we sat down to look at his routine, it wasn't full of vices. No alcohol, no smoking. Just one thing: every afternoon around 3 p.m. he'd have a cup of chocolate almond milk. Thought it was a treat, something to keep the edge off. We checked the bottle together. It had 4 different types of sugar, 2 preservatives, and not a trace of actual almonds. He was stunned. He said, I thought I was being good to myself. I nodded. You were, I said, but now it's time to be better. He switched, not to punishment, not to a tasteless liquid, but to something real. Flax in the afternoon, maybe a few walnuts on the side. A month later, he said, I read 4 chapters yesterday and remembered all of it. I haven't done that in years. That to me is healing. Not just feeling younger, but feeling clearer, more present, more yourself. That's what I want for you. Because here's something I want you to consider. When a man begins to feel like a stranger in his own body, he doesn't lose his strength right away. He loses his voice, his confidence, his spark. And no one teaches us how to get that back. No one says start with your glass, but I will. Because I've watched men come back to life not by doing something dramatic, but by doing something intentional. One man I worked with, George, 67, had been battling joint pain for over a decade. He was on medications, physical therapy, everything. I asked him, "What if part of your pain isn't from what's wrong, but from what's missing?" He blinked, said, "Like what?" "Like omega-3s, I said, like anti-inflammatory fats that your joints are starving for." He added flax milk to his morning oats. Just that. 4 weeks in, he told me, "My knees still click, but I'm not limping anymore, and I don't feel defeated." That's what small changes can do. Not erase age, but restore relationship between you and your body, between who you've become and who you still are. I'm not promising miracles, but I am promising this. If you treat your body like it still matters, it will start acting like it still belongs to you. And sometimes that starts with choosing a glass of milk that loves you back. No hidden sugars, no quiet sabotage, just nourishment, plain and quiet, like a good friend who doesn't need to speak loud to be trusted. So here's my quiet invitation. Tomorrow morning, before you pour anything into your cup, pause. Not out of fear, not out of guilt, but out of respect for the man you still are. Ask yourself, does this feed my clarity? Does this support my strength? Will this help me feel present in my life today? And if the answer is no, you don't have to judge yourself. Just choose again. Because that's all this is, not a punishment, not a diet, just a return to your own awareness, to the version of you who doesn't accept numbness as normal, to the man who still believes life has more to offer and wants to be fully awake to receive it. If this message stirred something in you, something quiet, something true, then please don't blast it across a loudspeaker. Just pass it gently, like a warm hand on a shoulder, to a brother, a friend, a son, a man who still believes milk is harmless and wonders why he feels more tired each year. Sometimes what we need isn't a doctor's lecture. It's a voice we trust, reminding us, you still belong here, you still matter, and you can still choose what kind of man you wake up as tomorrow. So if you raise a glass in the morning, let it be a glass of clarity, a glass of self-respect, a glass that says, this is for me, for who I am, and for the man I still choose to become.